cabinet reshuffle to be finalized this week.
Premier Zhu Rongtai says a cabinet reshuffle will be finalized later this week. Cho told lawmakers at a hearing that at least 5 ministers or deputy ministers would be replaced, given that some officials had already tendered their resignations. Economics Minister Kuo Ji-hui has already resigned, citing health concerns after 15 months in office. While Digital Minister Yenyun Huang has also stepped down, saying he plans to return to his previous research work. Cho stressed the reshuffle will be the result of a comprehensive review of the current cabinet and reflect new policy priorities pledged by President Lai Ching-te last week. And he also said his new cabinet will work toward improving its relationship with opposition leaders and lawmakers, as several bills concerning budgets and special allocations still require legislative approval. President Lai Ching-te told reporters of his plans for a new cabinet after Saturday's final batch of recall targeting KMT lawmaker failed, saying the new cabinet will ensure that his administration is more effective in solving problems and responsive to public opinion. The president also said that while Zhu also expressed his intention to step down, he has now decided to stay on as premier. Taiwan's support for Pacific Islands Forum to continue despite no invitation.
Taiwan's support for Pacific Islands Forum to continue despite no invitation.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says Taiwan's will continue to support the Pacific Islands Forum regional bloc. This comes despite the group's recent decision to exclude Taiwan and other donor countries from its annual meeting. Ministry spokesman Xiao Kuangwei has said that although Taiwan would not be joining this year's event, the government will continue its close cooperation with the forum as a whole, as well as with its diplomatic allies. Xiao pointed out that the government has existing cooperation projects which provide financial assistance to support regional development. It also offers scholarships which are open to all Pacific Islands Forum members. Delegates at the Pacific Islands Forum Foreign Ministers meeting in Fiji earlier this month decided to uphold the Solomon Islands decision to exclude donor countries from the region's top political meeting next month. The Foreign Ministry at the time said that it accepted the decision despite finding it regrettable. Taiwan has been a partner country in Pacific Islands Forum mechanisms since 1993. Lai lauds Taiwan's animal protection progress at International Welfare Conference.
Lai lauds Taiwan's animal protection progress at International Welfare Conference.
President Lai Ching-te has lauded Taiwan's progress in animal protection, highlighting the achievement of ending the euthanasia of stray animals. Lai told participants at the Asia for Animals Coalition Conference in Taipei that the central and local governments have continued to work with animal protection groups to promote a humane capture-neuter policy to reduce the stray animal population. The president said that the government has now achieved zero euthanasia out of respect for life. The government officially ended the euthanasia of stray animals in 2017, after an amendment to the Animal Protection Act mandated that all public shelters cease the practice. Lai also highlighted other milestones in Taiwan's animal protection efforts, including the establishment of the Department of Animal Welfare in 2023 and last year's amendments to regulations on animal exhibitions to strengthen welfare standards and inspection mechanisms. The Asia for Animals Coalition Conference has been held biennially in different cities across Asia since 2021. Taiwan is hosting the three-day event for the first time. Greenpeace warns nearly half of the island's pollution at risk from.
Greenpeace warns nearly half of the island's pollution at risk from.
Petrochemical air pollution. Greenpeace says more than 9 million people here in Taiwan live within 5 kilometers of petrochemical production facilities, placing them in high-risk zones for air pollution exposure. Greenpeace says it has identified 191 facilities across 13 counties and cities, and high-risk zones cover almost 40% of the population. Greenpeace project manager Chang Kai-ting says 1.15 million children and 1.59 million elderly residents reside within these areas. Chang says the areas also have over 4,000 institutions that service these demographic groups, including kindergartens, elementary schools, junior high schools, and elderly care centers. The Greenpeace report shows that Kaohsiung has the most petrochemical plants, with 50 facilities affecting about 1.6 million residents. While Taoyuan and Tainan both have 31 such facilities, placing about 1.98 million and 1.58 million people, respectively, in high-risk zones. Chang says if the exposure range is expanded to 10 kilometers, the number of people affected rises to 15.72 million, or about 70% of Taiwan's population. The Ministry of Environment says it has launched investigations and pollution reduction plans. Man sentenced to 8 months for illegally crossing from China to Taiwan.
Man sentenced to 8 months for illegally crossing from China to Taiwan.
A Chinese national who entered Taiwan illegally with his son on an inflatable boat has been sentenced to serve 8 months in prison. The Taoyuan District Court said Song Yuan-kun severely undermined Taiwan's national security and border integrity when he arrived in Taiwan in May. Song and his 17-year-old son landed near the Guantang LNG terminal in the city's Guanyin district on May 15th in an inflatable boat they bought online on a Chinese shopping website. They went to an ATM and used a UnionPay card to withdraw cash after landing, which they used to buy dinner. They themselves in to authorities the following day. The man's 17-year-old son is being held in the Taipei detention center, pending deportation. The court ruling can be appealed. Popular Japanese digestive medicine recalled in Taiwan over labeling.
Popular Japanese digestive medicine recalled in Taiwan over labeling.
The Food and Drug Administration has ordered a recall of 410,000 cans of the popular Japanese indigestion medicine Otazicin. The move comes after discrepancies were found between its Chinese and Japanese ingredient labels. 37 batches across 3 product sizes have been ordered recalled by September 18, after a consumer reported that the Japanese labeling of active ingredients on the outer packaging did not match the approved Chinese version. The affected batches include 16 batches of the 75-gram product, 16 batches of the 140-gram product, and 5 batches of the 210-gram product. The over-the-counter drug is imported by Yuoshang Industrial. The FDA says the distributor must complete the recall and submit a corrective report by September 18th, or face a fine of up to 5 million NT under the Pharmaceutical Affairs Act. Sylvia Chang to receive Camellia Award at 30th Busan Film Festival.
Sylvia Chang to receive Camellia Award at 30th Busan Film Festival.
Actress and director Sylvia Chang has received the Camellia Award at the 30th Busan International Film Festival. Chang's upcoming film Measure in Love was also selected by the festival to be shown in the open cinema section. That's an outdoor screening venue showcasing new films that blend artistic merit with popular appeal. Chang said she's delighted to receive the honor and hopes it will inspire other female filmmakers and those working in the arts. The Camellia Award was established in 2024 to honor the power of women in film. It's presented to a prominent filmmaker or industry professional whose work has elevated the status of women in the field. It will be presented to Chang at the opening ceremony of the festival on September 17th. Measure in Love tells the story of two people following a massive earthquake that splits the world in two and distorts time and gravity on both sides. This fantasy romance will premiere in Taiwan on October 3rd. 3 European countries threaten to reimpose UN sanctions.
3 European countries threaten to reimpose UN sanctions.
A diplomat says that representatives of 3 European countries threatening to reimpose UN sanctions on Iran over its nuclear program have failed to agree with their Iranian counterpart on how to avoid the move. That comment comes just days ahead of the deadline. France, Britain, and Germany have threatened to trigger the snapback mechanism that automatically reimposes all United Nations sanctions on Iran over its nuclear program. The European nations argue that Iran has willfully departed from their 2015 nuclear deal that lifted the sanctions. But the diplomat also says efforts will continue to find a solution ahead of the deadline to invoke the snapback mechanism tied to the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. Pakistan evacuates tens of thousands after India releases water from dams.
Pakistan evacuates tens of thousands after India releases water from dams.
Officials say rescuers in eastern Pakistan have evacuated tens of thousands of people to safer areas after neighboring India released water from overflowing dams and swollen rivers into low-lying border regions. The move came a day after New Delhi alerted Islamabad about possible cross-border flooding, marking the first public diplomatic contact between the two nuclear-armed rivals in months. Pakistan's National Disaster Management Authority said Tuesday it had issued an advance alert about a surge in the Sutlej River and the risk of flooding. It said more evacuations from various districts in the eastern Punjab province are still underway. Moins launches plan to monitor pollution in industrial zones.
Tang Yilin ordered detained in corruption case.
In news from and about Taiwan this morning, the Taipei District Court has ordered former Green Energy Industry Promotion Center Deputy Executive Director Zheng Yilin to be detained on suspicion of corruption and money laundering. The order was issued earlier this morning after Taipei District Prosecutor's Office sought to detain him pending further investigation. Chang was questioned on suspicion of violating the Anti-Corruption Act and money laundering. According to the prosecutor's office, Chang is believed to have used bank accounts held under the names of relatives and friends to accept bribes from Tongwei Construction and HD Renewable Energy under the guise of consulting fees. Prosecutors also say he pressured Thai Power to grant favors. Prosecutors earlier this week searched 22 locations, including Chang's residence, and the offices of the two companies. He was one of several people brought in for questioning. Prosecutors have also filed a motion to detain Tongwei Construction founder Chen Jiansheng and his son Chen Guantao. HD Renewable Energy's general manager has been released on bail of 1 million NT. Cheng's parents have each been released on 100,000 NT bail, while a retired Thai Power official was released without bail after questioning. Presidential Office spokeswoman Karen Kuo says as evidence existed to justify a judicial investigation, the law will be strictly enforced without leniency. While Premier Cho Jung-tai says the government will not tolerate any criminal activity and anyone involved in the case, if found guilty, will be punished to the fullest extent of the law. Lo Chichiang launches KMT chair bid, vows to back Liu Xiaoyan in 2028.
Lo Chichiang launches KMT chair bid, vows to back Liu Xiaoyan in 2028.
KMT lawmaker Lo Chichiang has formally declared his plans to run for party chair in October's leadership election. Speaking to reporters, Lo said if elected to lead the KMT, he will draft Taichung Mayor Liu Xiaoyan as the party's presidential candidate in 2028. Lo promised to nominate Liu within 3 months of the 2026 local government elections, and then step down as party head to support her to take over as chair. According to Lo, uniting the party under a single candidate is the only path to victory in 2028. Lo said he proposed a grand alliance for party rotation before last year's presidential election, but it was not adopted, leading to division in the opposition and enabling Lai Ching-te to win. Lo went to say that such division must not be repeated in the 2026 local government and 2028 presidential elections, and he will again establish a grand alliance for party rotation and create a system for regular consultations with the leader of the Taiwan People's Party. First local dengue fever cases of year confirmed in Kaohsiung.
First local dengue fever cases of year confirmed in Kaohsiung.
The Centers for Disease Control has confirmed the first local dengue fever cases of the year. According to the CDC, the cases were reported during the week of August 19th to 25th and involved a cluster of 4 people in Kaohsiung. The first case was a man in his 50s who showed symptoms on August 23. He sought medical treatment the next day and tested positive for type 2 dengue fever. Further tests found that 2 family members living with the man and a neighbor were also positive for type 2 dengue fever. The CDC says local health authorities have now expanded testing to 101 potential contacts. CDC spokeswoman Zheng Shuhui says Regional Management Center are now working with the local government to reduce risk of an epidemic, while the local government has also set up a command center for disease prevention action. Government's stray dog policy slammed at Animal Welfare Conference.
Government's stray dog policy slammed at Animal Welfare Conference.
Delegates at the Asia for Animals Coalition Conference in Taipei have slammed the government's stray dog policy. Animal rights advocate Chen Yu-min says the euthanasia issue is like the emperor's new clothes, with the emperor, represented by the authorities, deluding himself into believing a no-kill goal has been achieved. According to Chen, since Taiwan officially ended the euthanasia of stray animals in all public shelters in February 2017, more than 380,000 stray dogs have been caught as of June this year, with around 140,000 undergoing trap-neuter return, which she said has created a very paradoxical situation, as because euthanasia is no longer allowed, the government has taken the lead in neutering animals and then releasing them back onto the streets, which has not reduced the number of stray dogs. Chen says the government should encourage sterilization of household dogs noting that waiting until they become strays to neuter them places an exhausting burden on animal welfare workers. She also called on the government to strictly regulate dog breeders and sellers, including limiting the number of licenses issued. Traffickers caught smuggling 24 Vietnamese nationals into Taiwan.
Traffickers caught smuggling 24 Vietnamese nationals into Taiwan.
Coast Guard administration has intercepted a Taiwan-flagged fishing boat attempting to smuggle 24 Vietnamese nationals into Taiwan. According to the Yilan District Prosecutor's Office, 4 people have been charged with violating the Human Trafficking Prevention Act and the Immigration Act. The investigation into the human smuggling ring began in October of last year. The Coast Guard administration says it was closely tracking the Jin Sai Man 8's movements and following its crew members prior to uncovering the human trafficking scheme. A fishing boat was intercepted, boarded by Coast Guard personnel in waters some 9.3 nautical miles from the baseline of Taiwan's territorial waters. Prosecutor says the human trafficking operation was led by 2 brothers, who collected 250,000 NT from each of the 24 Vietnamese nationals found on board the vessel. MOFA touts its Taiwan Global Pathfinders Initiative second round.
MOFA touts its Taiwan Global Pathfinders Initiative second round.
And finally, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says a program enabling youths from Taiwan's diplomatic allies to participate in short-term training and cross-cultural exchanges in Taiwan will soon begin its second round. The statement comes after it completed its first round last month. According to the ministry's Department of Policy Planning, the first round of the 2025 Taiwan Global Pathfinders Initiative Diplomatic Allies Inbound Track Program ended in July. Under the initiative, 24 participants from Eswatini, the Marshall Islands, Palau, and Tuvalu underwent a 2-week training program from July 18th to 31st. Participants from Eswatini focused on smart agricultural technology, while those from the 3 Pacific allies learned how to develop sustainable tourism and conserve cultural resources. The second round of the Diplomatic Allies Inbound Track Program will be expanded to 1 month from the previous 2 weeks and will be open not only to diplomatic allies in Latin America, but also to non-allies in Europe. Cabinet reshuffle to be finalized this week.
Li Yang named as sports minister and other cabinet changes. Source:
Badminton Olympic gold medalist Li Yang will be the first minister of the sports ministry, according to the Central News Agency. 30-year-old Li will be assisted by the current head of the sports administration, Zheng Shizhong, and Taiwan Institute of Sports Science CEO Huang Qi-huang, who are set to take the position of deputy sports ministers. Meanwhile, former CPBL pitcher Chen Yixin of the indigenous Amos tribe will become chair of the Council of Indigenous Peoples. Chen played professional baseball for teams in Japan and Taiwan from 1989 to 2000. In other developments, Cabinet Secretary General Gong Mingxing will take on the role of economics minister, while the National Development Council chair will be Ye Junxian, the former head of the Tsinghua Institution for Economic Research. The Executive Yuan is expected to hold a press conference tomorrow to announce the changes, with as many as 15 adjustments.
Delay on Yellow Line.
Passengers on New Taipei City's MRT Yellow Line this morning experienced a delay when an alert appeared as a train was nearing Jingping Station, causing the train to stop. but normal service was restored by 9 a.m. Several passengers posted on threads that they had been stuck in the train car on the Yellow Line at about 8:20 this morning. Passengers say that they heard an announcement saying that the train would temporarily stop. It was stopped for about 25 minutes before letting passengers off at Jingping Station. New Taipei Metro said that the automatic safety mechanism was activated due to a signal system alarm, causing staff to stop the train and dispatch workers to handle the issue. They add that the cause of the issue will be investigated.
Australian police identify suspect at large in killing of 2 police officers.
In international news, Australian police have identified a suspect who shot and killed 2 police officers and seriously wounded a third as the search for the shooter entered day 2 in a vast, remote rural area in the country's southeast. Police said today that 56-year-old Desi Freeman was heavily armed and experienced in wilderness survival skills. The shooting happened on Tuesday, when 10 armed police officers, including those of a unit that investigates sexual offenses and child abuse, tried to execute a search warrant at Freeman's property in a town of just over 1,000 people northeast of Melbourne. Freeman killed a 59-year-old detective and a 35-year-old senior constable and escaped on foot. A local school of just over 100 students was in lockdown for hours before students were allowed to go home.
New Zealand rugby player Shane Christie dies at 39.
A leading New Zealand rugby player who advocated for closer study of the connections between concussion and long-term brain injury has died at the age of 39. The New Zealand Herald reported that his friends suspected Shane Christie, who played for the Highlanders in Super Rugby and for New Zealand Maori, had taken his own life. Police were called today to his home, where he was found dead. Christie suspected he was suffering from chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
Taipei to start removing Gongguan roundabout next month.
The Taipei City Department of Transportation says they will begin demolishing the Gongguan roundabout next month. The issue has been a flashpoint for debate in the Taipei City Council in recent months, with many councilors raising concerns about its removal, as it's the #1 traffic accident hotspot in the city. The city government today said that work would begin on September 13th to turn the roundabout into a formal intersection between Roosevelt and Keelung roads. Taipei Mayor Chang Wan-an said in March that his government would remove the roundabout, but that announcement prompted widespread backlash. In particular, City Councilor Miao Poya pointed out that the city had done little public outreach and failed to take into account councilors' opposition to the demolition.
MoEnv, operators of solar energy, promised to clean up by September 5th.
The Ministry of Environment said an operator of the solar panels destroyed by Typhoon Danis has asked the ministry's permission to clean up the debris by September 5th. Environment Minister Peng Qiming says his ministry is considering it and will take over if the operator can't get the job done on time. Peng has also denied accusations that his ministry was dragging its feet in dealing with the typhoon's aftermath, saying that Yuan Yu.
Taiwan shares.
Taiwan shares are up today, with the benchmark TAIEX gaining 214 points to close at 24519. The turnover was 454.6 billion NT. Suspected forced laborers' bones recovered in Japan.
Suspected forced laborers' bones recovered in Japan.
In Japan, Suspected human remains have been recovered at a mine where about 180, mostly Korean forced laborers died in a 1942 accident. A Japanese civic group says divers found 3 limb bones and the skull at the former Chosei mine in Yamaguchi Prefecture. Police are examining the remains, which could accelerate efforts to recover others lost in the collapse. The discovery comes just days after a Tokyo summit between Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba and South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung, where the two leaders showcased improved ties, even as unresolved wartime issues like forced labor remain a sensitive topic. 8 dead following Kajiki.
8 dead following Kajiki.
8 are dead in Southeast Asia following heavy rain, flooding, and landslides due to tropical storm Kajiki. In Vietnam, 7 were killed by flooding in the north and central areas of the country, in addition to 1 missing person and 34 injured. Nearly 20 centimeters of rain fell in parts of Vietnam overnight, with flood warnings still in effect for some areas. Meanwhile, 1 is dead in Thailand and another missing following a landslide in Chiang Mai. Thai officials say many homes were affected and a few people were injured from flash flooding. More rain is still forecast. Li Yang named as sports minister in other cabinet changes. Source:
Ge Jianming tries to fight off criticism.
DPP Legislative Caucus Whip Ki Jianming has insisted that there's nothing wrong about the massive recall campaign, saying he was trying everything he could to gain majority in the legislature. But he continues to take friendly fire as DPP lawmakers Wang Shijian, Guo Guo Wen, and Lin Shufen have all called for him to step down in recent days. This comes as there's been an exodus of DPP leaders from their positions in the days since the final nail in the coffin was hammered into the Great Recall movement over the weekend. K, though appearing unconvinced, posted on social media a quote from a Cao Ji poem, asking why beans cooked in the same pot are so eager to destroy each other.
Tariff impact pushes Taiwan's consumer confidence to 2.5-year low in August.
Taiwan's consumer confidence index fell in August to its lowest point in more than 2.5 years, with economists citing new U.S. tariffs as the cause. The index dropped to 63.3, with 5 out of 6 sub-indicators slipping, covering household finances, prices, the job market, durable goods, and the overall economy. The only bright spot was confidence in the stock market, lifted by record highs in Taiwan shares. The U.S. has levied a 20% duty on Taiwan's exports, higher than the 15% applied to Japan and South Korea. Analysts warn that while markets may benefit in the short term from possible U.S. rate cuts, the tariff shock could soon weigh on exports, company earnings, and broader economic fundamentals. The biggest decline came in durable goods purchases, and real estate sentiment also fell to a 5-year low.
Denmark summons top U.S. diplomat.
Now turning to international news. Denmark's foreign minister is summoning the top U.S. diplomat in the country for talks, after reports emerged suggesting that at least 3 people affiliated with the U.S. president have been carrying out covert influence operations in Greenland. Greenland is a semi-autonomous Danish territory that U.S. President Trump has repeatedly said that he wants to take over. Greenland and Denmark have both said that the island is not for sale and condemned reports of U.S. intelligence gathering. Miguel Uribe dared to run for president.
Miguel Uribe dared to run for president.
The father of a Colombian presidential candidate that was assassinated earlier this year has launched a campaign for the presidency. Miguel Uribe's father says his campaign is an attempt to keep Miguel's legacy alive and build a safer and more prosperous Colombia. The 72-year-old, called Miguel Uribe Londono, announced his candidacy with a speech outside the congressional building where his son became a senator. The older Uribe is running under the Conservative Party that his son belonged to. The former politician gained new prominence while making a speech at his son's funeral, condemning what he called a descent into madness under the current left-wing president. Gas stations in Russia run dry.
Gas stations in Russia run dry.
Gas stations in some parts of Russia are running dry after Ukrainian drones struck oil infrastructure in recent weeks. People are having to wait in long lines, with officials resorting to rationing or cutting off sales altogether. Wholesale prices for some types of gas spiked to record highs last week, hitting rates about 50% higher than in January, as demand soared from farmers seeking to bring in the harvest and Russians hitting the roads for vacations. Russian media outlets reported fuel shortages in several regions in the Far East and in the Crimean Peninsula. I pay to start removing Gongguan roundabout next month.
Supreme Court rejects death row inmates' retrial request.
The Supreme Court has rejected an appeal by death row inmate Cheng Yi-lung, upholding a Taiwan High Court ruling that denied his request for a retrial. Cheng argued that a 2024 Constitutional Court ruling, which struck down mandatory death sentences, gave him grounds for a new trial. However, the High Court ruled that the decision only allows inmates to seek an extraordinary appeal through the Prosecutor General, not a retrial. The Supreme Court agreed, saying Cheng had misunderstood the law. Cheng, sentenced to death in 2000 along with Huang Chun-chi for kidnapping and murder, remains among Taiwan's 36 death row inmates. The Constitutional Court has declared the death penalty conditionally constitutional, but invalidated mandatory death provisions for certain crimes.
Body of missing Indian student recovered in Yunlin.
An Indian male student from Nanhua University, who went missing earlier this week, has been found dead. Firefighters in Yunlin County recovered his body around 12:40 p.m. today near the Zhonghu.
Labor Ministry announces ICRT incentives for youth employment support
program. The Ministry of Labor has launched a new program to support youth employment, effective September 1st. Under the initiative, first-time job seekers aged 15 to 29 will see their monthly allowances rise to 6,000 NT, with extra incentives for those who achieve stable employment. The program shortens the unemployment requirement from 90 to 60 days and provides up to 3 months of financial support. Young workers who secure a job during the support period and stay employed for 90 days can receive 20,000 NT, with an additional 10,000 NT awarded after 180 days of continuous employment. Officials say the initiative aims to address instability in the job market caused by international factors, including tariffs. Last year, over 7,000 young workers received allowances totaling 64 million NT, while over 5,000 earned incentives exceeding 140 million NT.
Cabinet reshuffle involving 16 officials and 10 agencies unveiled.
The Executive Yuan has unveiled a sweeping cabinet reshuffle affecting 16 officials across 10 agencies, including new ministers for economic affairs, digital affairs, and health. Premier Cho Jung-tai,